like I've been practicing like patience and practicing like positivity so much now that like I swear like I have a lot of control over it now. And like every once in a while I get some random anxiety, but what I attribute that to is like just the lack of chemicals that are in my brain at this point from all the medications that kind of made my chemistry all weird. But
Hello everyone, this is Alonzo Williams and you are now tuned into the Everyday Stranger podcast. Let's get it. Ooh, y'all gotta excuse me today, y'all. I'm a little bit under the weather. Looks like the weather's starting to change a lot out here in Texas, so I've been trying to get my life together, y'all. But nevertheless, I'm still here presenting a new episode to y'all because I love y'all and I love doing this. So you were just listening to an excerpt from today's guest. He goes by the name of Travis, aka Jucebox. Travis is a photographer / tattoo artist who currently resides in Arizona. Now they say everything happens for a reason. I truly believe the reason for us meeting in California on Hollywood Boulevard 5 years ago, you know, that reason was clear as day. Travis shared a story with me that brought so much clarity to my past relationship with anxiety. In my recent book, Everyday Strangers Volume 1, I asked Travis, why did he tattoo across his knuckles, keep calm? And Travis responds, I have anxiety issues. Like, I was actually diagnosed with anxiety disorder a couple years ago. So I was taking meds to solve my issues, but I realized one thing, pills don't really help you. It's all brain power. So that moment when I'm experiencing anxiety, the tattoo is a reminder to just keep calm. In this episode, after 5 years, we speak about that quote, along with Travis's current relationship with anxiety and meds, and we also discuss his journey as a photographer and a tattoo artist. So without further ado, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. This is the Everyday Stranger podcast featuring today's guest, Travis, aka Jucebox. All right, y'all, enjoy. Peace.
Hey, what up, dude? How you doing?
Good, man. Long time no speak, man.
It has been, dude. It's been quite a minute.
For sure. You still out there in Arizona?
Yes, sir. Right outside of Phoenix, so a little bit east of that in Mesa.
Oh, you burning up out there then, huh?
Yeah, it's hot as hell, dude.
For sure, man. Well, look, we on the air, man. So, like I do all my guests, the first question I'm gonna ask you, man, is what's life's greatest lesson been for you?
Shoot, man. So far, I mean, I try and stay learning lessons every day, but lately I've been in this mindset that, like, man, anybody can do anything. I mean, obviously within reason. You can't go like blow up a whole continent or anything like that,
right.
But like, I'm a firm believer lately, man, that like if someone wants to do something, all they have to do is, you know, do their due diligence and stuff. Like I'll be tattooing and I always have people be like, man, I wish I could be a tattoo artist. And I'm like, well, why can't you? And they're like, oh, I don't know how to draw. And I'm like, well, you could learn to draw, you know? And like, if you truly take that time and set it aside and study and work hard, dude, like you'll be able to accomplish that. I mean, tattooing's just the smallest drop in the bucket too. Like,
yeah, I see you saying.
Potential for people, you know, is unlimited, and nobody ever just, I guess, believes in themselves or takes the resources that they have available to grasp that.
Right.
And so I've been working really hard on expanding my horizons and trying to do more lately and do it to the best of my ability, and it's working out really well for me, man.
Nice, man. Has there been a moment in your life where maybe you were on the opposite end of that? Meaning, was there a moment when you felt like you didn't believe? Yeah.
I've been complete opposite of that, man. I struggled, you know, we've talked about it before, but you know, I struggled with depression for the longest time and like the worst possible way, and anxiety and all that stuff, man. And for a long time, dude, there'd be like weeks at a time where I couldn't get out of bed, and I lost jobs because of it, and I lost friends because of it, and like it sucks. But at the time, I felt like there was nothing I could possibly do about it, and it was rough for a while. And I mean, man, I tried everything. You know, at the time, like medication, I was on 15 different medications in like 2 months.
Really?
And then, yeah, for about like 10 years, dude, they had me on 10 different pills a day. I was taking Xanax, I was taking antidepressants, I was taking mood stabilizers, antipsychotic, anti-seizure medications,
Wow.
gabapentin, which is like a nerve, like a suppressant kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was on like 7 milligrams of Xanax a day for 10 years. That's like
What?
3.5 bars a day, dude. So, I mean, I was like,
Wow.
that's how bad it was, you know? So it was crazy, man. And honestly, it's like, what point does the medication stop helping the problem and start becoming the problem?
Right.
And that's kind of where I ended up at, you know? And so, I mean, last time you saw me, I was on all those medications, and I mean, I was doing good, but I wasn't doing great, you know?
Yeah.
But it's crazy. A lot's changed.
That was actually going to lead me to my next question, because I like to, for people who've been involved or in the actual 100 Strangers project, like you were in like the original one, the very first one.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm looking at the book now where I'm actually turned on your page where we had met on Hollywood Boulevard, and I think actually my homeboy Chris had seen you first before I did. And I think he was like, yo, Zoe, yo, come here, man. Like, yo, check dude out. And then I noticed I was, you know, at the time, bro, I was kind of struggling with anxiety too, you know what I'm saying? And I was going through a whole lot of stuff. And when you shared your story with me, I was like, oh, wow, that's deep. Like, and in the quote you had mentioned how you've always struggled with anxiety. And I think the quote you were saying, so I was taking meds to solve the issues, but I realized one thing: pills don't really help you. It's all brain power. So the moment when I'm experiencing anxiety, and we speaking on the tattoo, you were saying the tattoo is a reminder to kind of like keep you calm and everything, or it's a reminder to stay calm.
Yeah, my knuckles.
Yeah, which was one of the dopest tattoos that I had seen.
Thank you, man.
I was like, bro, for one thing, how did you know? Did you like automatically? Did you have to like guess? Like, hold on, wait a minute. Okay, I got 5 fingers. I mean, 8 fingers really on the front. Will these letters fit on each knuckle? like
yeah, I kind of had a couple ideas for them and stuff, but I was thinking about, you know, all right, 8 letters. What can I do? And there was like a lot of 8-letter, like one word that are 8 letters.
Right.
There's, you know, 2 words at 4 letters, or you could be weird and do like a 2-letter word and then a 6-letter word, but that's kind of, I don't know, a little different. But
right.
I was thinking, I couldn't figure it out, dude, because I was at that point where I'm like, all right, I want to get my knuckles tattooed. I really want to get them done.
Yeah.
And then one day I was like half asleep in bed in LA, and I was just like laying there like about to fall asleep, and it just popped into my head, and I was like, dude, because like I was kind of like thinking about too much shit that night. Like,
Yeah.
You just got to keep calm, dude. I was like, wait. Oh shit. And then, like, you know, after that it had to happen. I was like, that's it. And there was no other question about it once I, you know.
Right.
It's like, that's so perfect.
And what is that like when you had mentioned like this is all brain power? So I'm assuming this is kind of like when you were kind of like transitioning from like using all these meds to kind of escaping all of them, or like just
so last time we spoke, I was still on a bunch of medications, and then after that, like I was doing good there for a little bit, and then like I had some crazy stuff come up, and like I kind of like got a little bit more down on myself, and then so they had me on about 10 different medications, dude. Well, when I moved out here to Arizona, that was at the end of 2015.
Yeah.
I was just like, dude, I was done. I was like, I'm not taking these pills anymore. Like, you know, and I had been doing like good for myself mentally. So I was like, you know, if any time the time is now, you know, I'm in Arizona, I'm trying to refresh. I'm trying to do things like not over, but like doing better now.
Right.
And I just quit taking them, dude. I think I was on like 9 or 10 of them at the time. I just all in the same day too. And cause I had like gone and saw a doctor, and I'm like, hey, I want to get off these. And they gave me some excuse like, oh, we don't think you're ready, or, you know, I don't think that's the best idea for you right now. And I was like, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I understand you guys are trying to make your money, but that's bullshit, you know, whatever. But,
right.
So I just quit taking them, dude. And honestly, like, it was bad, dude. I laid in bed for like a week. I'm surprised I didn't die. Cause like, Benzos, which is like Xanax and anxiety medications, like Klonopin and stuff, and
Yeah.
alcohol are like two of the only substances you can die from withdrawing off of.
Really?
Yeah, and people have died off of withdrawing from smaller amounts than I was on. And so, I mean, I was just like, it's all or nothing at this point. So I quit taking them, dude. And I laid in bed for like a week having seizures and puking and just, I mean, it was bad, dude. It was bad.
Wow.
I swear, like I died and was reborn again out there, man. It was crazy. But like I said, like, and I've been getting better and better at just keeping that positive mental attitude. Like it's almost a curse at this point because like something like traumatic or bad should happen where I'm like tore up about it. Right. I'm like, all right, it's good. Let's keep moving. Like,
right. So
sometimes it makes me question my sanity.
I mean, but in the moment though, I mean, so basically you're saying, I mean, you still, of course you have anxiety every once in a while, I'm assuming still, like it's not like gone.
Yeah, every once in a while, but honestly, it takes a whole lot. Like I've been practicing like patience and practicing like positivity so much now that like I swear like I have a lot of control over it now. And like every once in a while I get some random anxiety, but what I attribute that to is like just the lack of chemicals that are in my brain at this point from all the medications that kind of made my chemistry all weird. But it's usually when I get anxiety nowadays, it's usually not about like anything specific, or it's just about something like super trivial.
Right.
Like if I'm booked like all next week with tattoos, right, and then I have two people like cancel their appointment, I'll be like, oh shit, like what am I gonna do? Because like tattooing's crazy, man, and if you don't constantly hustle and constantly strive to make money, like I mean nobody's pushing me except myself, like I don't know, so
it's definitely like that, like just like being an entrepreneur in general, you know what I'm saying, or being
and it's not just not just tattooing. It's like if you're working for yourself, you don't have a boss to tell you like, hey, you need to get this done, or tell you like, hey, this is due this date. Like you just have to do it. And a lot of people don't have the willpower to, they're like, oh, I got this new video game I could go play.
Yeah.
And there, my girlfriend's looking at me all weird because I've been playing video games lately. But I get all my stuff done too. So, but a lot of people don't have that power to like, put their duties first. Especially like at my job, I could call in sick, I could do whatever, like, and I could sit around and fuck off all day, but like.
Right.
I'm not going to make my money like that. I mean, I'm going to suffer because of it. And a lot of people are like, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but some people have trouble with that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you say. I totally relate because, like going into like photography full time in a point in my life, like there was moments when, and I'm sure you could relate to this because, and I noticed sometimes you'll talk about this on Instagram too, like how sometimes, well, we both had a conversation about this. On a lot of times we may have a client and maybe last minute cancel or postpone or whatever like that, and at that moment you may be like, okay, this right here, this is something that's going to like pay the bills or whatever or get paid, but now you have to like kind of like find a plan B now, or look further into like, okay, what do I do now since I don't have this photo shoot booked, or this tattoo tattoo appointment is canceled or whatnot. Like in those situations, like what are you normally doing afterwards? Like what's your mentality after like something like that happens?
It sucks, but I try and hustle up real quick and see if I can get somebody to replace that spot. Like a perfect example is actually this morning before I was on the line with you. I was confirming my appointments for the day. Well, actually I did it last night, but one of them didn't get back to me till this morning. He's like, hey man, I can't make it today. I'm really sorry. And it was like a 3-hour appointment. So it's a pretty good portion of my day. I'm usually there 7 or 8 hours.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good chunk of time and, a pretty good chunk of money.
Yeah.
So, usually when stuff like that happens, like if it's a small one, I don't really stress it, but I hit Instagram. I was like, yo, I got time today if anybody wants to sneak in.
Yeah, that's what I like about you too. You go straight to the ground, like, hey, look, I got availability. Like,
Yo, as much as I hate it, it's a super powerful tool.
Yeah, I believe it.
So, it's cool, you know, and a lot of people stay in touch with like what I'm doing and stuff on it. So it's pretty tight. I've tried to use Twitter and stuff. I cannot get that figured out.
I'm still working on it, bro.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I don't really use Facebook for tattoos because Facebook's just a mess nowadays. It used to be all right, but yeah, so the gram's where it's at, man. And usually I get a pretty good response on that. If nobody hits me up to book that spot, I'm going to use it, you know, I'm going to use it for something productive. I'll be at the shop and I can either like, I'll try and like paint or sit down and like, organize like kind of what's going on. Cause I've been doing photography again as well. I don't know if I talked to you. I used to do it like, I think I opened up my first studio was like 12 years ago out here in Tempe before I was in LA.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And, yeah. And so I got back into that and that's been a lot of fun, but it's a lot of, messiness trying to stay between tattooing and photography. You know, splitting yourself between two creative industries can sometimes be really really demanding. So which did you start first? Was it tattoos or photography? I did photography way before I even got tattooed or thought about tattoos.
So what got you into photography initially, and then like after that I asked you about the tattoos and everything?
Man, what got me into photography? Honestly, Pokemon Snap on N64. You remember that game?
Oh, word, yeah.
Yeah, I got that game, dude. And like you roll around and take pictures of all these Pokemon. And I was like, dude, this is so sick. Like I want to try and, you know. So I made like my mom take me to the store and I went out and found this like little cheesy camera and just started taking pictures of everything, dude. Everything I could possibly see that was like interesting to me. I'd snap a photo of, but after that, you know, it kind of got a little bit more serious and I was still only doing it as a hobby.
Right.
And back in the day, I had this car. That's kind of where I got my nickname from, Juicebox, is because I had a car. It was like a show car. Bro. I did like, yeah. All right. So we'll get into that right now because it kind of ties in.
Yeah. And before you answer, so people know, like the question is like, how did Travis, because your original name is Travis.
Yeah.
But when I met you, you were Juicebox. That's the name that I have in my telephone right now is Juicebox. So how did the name Juicebox come about? Like,
so I had a Scion XB, and I was raised like pretty nerdy. I was like raised Mormon. I was like into like the FFA and shit in high school, you know, like all the farm stuff and animals, and all through school I was just like that quiet kid. I sat in the back of my class and drew pictures and just whatever, you know, because I was always into art. That's kind of what spiraled me into tattooing, but it was pretty funny, man. So I got this Scion XB, one of the super boxy square cars. Right. And being into art, I was like, oh man, I want to make this thing look really cool. I'm going to like trick it out and I'm going to give it a paint job and I'm going to give it these cool rims and all this stuff. Right. And I started doing that. And, all of a sudden everyone in my high school was like, yo, who's that kid? He's got a sick car. Like, you know, everyone's all superficial in high school, you know, it's all like images and shit. So, we need to talk to him, man. That like, he's got that cool car. And I had gotten my license plate customized. And I was like trying to think of something funny and clever. And in the car show scene, like if a car was like super done up, they would say it's like juiced, you know, or like it's got the juice. So I made it Juicebox because it was like one of the box cars.
Oh, snap.
And that's why I had to drop the I, actually, is because like the license plate people would only let me have 7 letters. So it's JUCE because, yeah, I don't know. So it kind of just stuck, man. It's because everyone would be like, oh, the Juicebox kid, you know, that dude Juicebox, he's got the Juicebox, you know.
Right.
and so it was pretty funny, dude. Sorry, that plane's hella loud. I'm not.
No, that's cool. You could
I'm
wait
out
for
back over here. But yeah, so it started this whole thing, man, and I've never really been able to escape that name, especially once I hit tattooing. Like, I don't know. Lately, it's been Juice, I guess, is the more adult version of Juicebox.
Right.
But yeah. So, anyways, so I got that name. Well, back to the car and how I got into photography. The garage that I was taking my car to like get work done and stuff. Was this dude John Hansen, actually, was who's also a tattoo artist now. He's phenomenal. He's a cool ass dude.
Yeah.
Was doing a lot of work on my car, and while I was there one time, I had brought my camera just to take some pictures of the garage and stuff, and he was also doing work on this other dude's car. This dude named Aaron Sisk.
Okay.
And Aaron's a photographer, and he had been doing a bunch of stuff at like raves, right? Like rave photography. And he saw me there with my camera, and I was snapping photos, and he's like, oh, let me check out some of your work. And I showed him. He's like, dude, this is really good. He's like, have you ever been to a rave? And I'm like, no, it's a rave, you know, being my like little innocent high school boy.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, you need to come with me to these raves. Well, it turns out Aaron had been shooting these things for a few years. And so he was really like in with that whole crowd and the people who threw the parties and all the DJs. And he took me to a rave, dude. And I fell in love, man, because it was like a whole other world trying to take pictures in like this dark environment that's got these crazy colorful lights and everything's constantly changing. And it was like, I felt like for once this was like something that was like different, you know, because like, I mean, this was, dude, 2008, 2007, right. Even. And, back then raving wasn't like it is now, you know. Nowadays everyone's like, oh, you know, EDC and yada yada, and it was not a thing back then, you know. People were still making fun of people who went to raves and wore all the crazy bracelets and shit.
So you started shooting. So you started shooting photography in rave events.
Yeah, that was like my big entrance.
That's crazy, because I mean these are like, I mean now we kind of go into like camera terminologies now, but like we're talking about like low lighting situation. I mean, there's lights, of course, but it's not.
But they're hard to work with, man. So I was shooting like a 10.5 millimeter little prime fisheye Nikon lens that I had like saved up a bunch of money and bought because it was like fucking so expensive. But and I had a little Nikon 60 or D60, and I was just shooting, dude, and like I really goes back into my thing of like doing what you do to the fullest extent of it. You know, I'd go, you know, get to the rave an hour early, like 7 p.m. It opens at 8, and I'd already talked to everybody and got some cool pictures like while I was waiting, and then I'd stay at that shit till like 3, 4 in the morning, snap as many pictures as I possibly could, and then go home and stay up till like 10 a.m. the next day, just editing, you know, and push out all these photos onto this website. Back in the day, it was called Don't Stay In.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, and it was, they kind of went out of business because, well, they didn't go out of business. They have a Mix Mag, if you've heard of that. It's like based out of the UK. They're still doing that.
Heard that before,
yeah, that's blown up, which is crazy because I was published in Mix Mag like maybe like 2009.
Really?
Yeah, a few times. So anyways, super cool. Back in the day stuff. But yeah, Don't Stan's not around anymore, but that was basically like the headquarters for everybody to go grab their pictures like from the rave and shit. But I'd snap a few pictures of the crowd, you know, but my main interest was the DJs, man. And so I quickly got noticed for that, not only on the website, but you know, people that threw the parties would start putting me on for their events and stuff. And man, it was so cool. I've gotten to take pictures with so many different DJs and meet them, and lots of big names in the industry, man. Rusko, Datsik, Borgor, Excision, Tiesto. I mean, like
all over the place.
Yeah, dude. Even recently, I shot this one out here in Arizona called Gold last year. It's actually happening again, like this weekend. Okay. But I went to last year, dude, and got to shoot with like Steve Aoki and Elenium and talk to them and meet them and stuff. And so it was just super crazy experience and really awesome stuff.
Tight, man. Man, see, I would have never known that. I always thought that I would have thought that you started off as a tattoo artist. And again, like I said, like I was telling my friend earlier that like when we meet people, we really meet like a chapter of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I probably met you at chapter 7 or something, right? And I just like, okay, chapter
dude, we're
7.
On like chapter like 98 or something crazy.
And I'm like, yeah, you know, he's a tattoo artist, man. But my assumption, and a lot of times I try to avoid those, is, he was probably a tattoo artist, you know, like, but that's crazy, man. And again, like starting off in rave shows and everything, that's like, to be able to, shooting portraits, I'm pretty sure that was like a cakewalk for you then, as far as like mastering lighting.
Portraits, I actually didn't really get heavy into until more recently. I mean, I guess shooting people at raves is a form of portraiture, but portraits I didn't really get into till recently. And I had this like warehouse in Apache Junction I had set up as like as a studio and stuff, and built a lot of cool connections doing that out here. I actually had signed a contract with this K-pop group to shoot like some stuff for them, and they bought me like these crazy studio lights and like really took care of me. And so now I got these like Paul C. Buff like Digi-B lights that are super fancy. I got like a 3-light setup with those and all the modifiers and stuff. But they actually ended up canceling the contract before I even got to shoot them.
Oh wow!
So now I just got these like cool ass
Okay.
lights and shit. Yeah, so super funny. I haven't been shooting as much lately just because Arizona summers make you really lazy.
What brought you to Arizona?
I was kind of raised out here, man. I went to school out here, like high school, junior high, elementary school, all that stuff. Originally from the East Coast and all that.
Really?
But yeah, but I kind of grew up out here. It's where my mom's from.
Okay.
And I had moved out to LA kind of on a whim, because I went out to visit this person I went to high school with.
Right.
And I got out there and I was just like, yo, this is tight. Like, I'm gonna stay here for a minute. I ended up out there for like 6 years.
Wow.
And
That's more than a minute.
that's kind of when that's kind of when tattooing just kind of accidentally fell into my lap. That was let's see, 2010. It'll be 9 years tattooing in October now. But I had gone out there. I was getting tattooed, and I had done a few tattoos in high school, on a couple buddies, because one of my friends bought a tattoo machine, but I had never really taken it seriously. I just, I probably did like 4 or 5.
Right.
I was like, all right, that was cool. Like,
So what kind of advice would you tell someone who's looking to get a tattoo? Like, what makes a good tattoo artist, in your opinion?
Man, so tattooing's turned into this crazy monster. Tattooing used to be like, not a lot of people doing it and stuff, but all these like Ink Master shows have made it blown up, and with that has come a lot of like nonsense. There's tattoo shops. I mean, I'm sure in Houston too, like on every corner now.
Yeah.
And there's such a saturation of artists and stuff, and a lot of them, in my opinion, like at least 50% of them, if not more, should not be anywhere near the tattoo industry.
Right.
It attracts a lot of people who think it's like the cool guy party thing, or like they're going to be able to like, make so much money or get, all the girls, and like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's turned into this whole image thing, but a lot of people like can't pull a clean line to save their life. But, looking at someone's technical ability as a tattoo artist is important. I mean, in the end of the day, like if you got a good tattoo, that's what you're stuck living with. Like there's a lot of tattoo artists out there that carry this like horrible mentality, like, oh, I'm such a cool person and I'm doing you a favor by allowing you to get tattooed by me. And like, that's not how it works, man. Like
Yeah.
if it wasn't for my clients, I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't be making money,
Right.
So for that, I'm super grateful. But a lot of people are not in that same mentality. And like, I got a tattoo by this dude who I will not name.
Okay.
Because he was just a dick the whole time. Tattoo turned out fucking amazing. It's a great tattoo. It's fantastic. And I love it. And I get a lot of awesome compliments on it. But the experience while I was getting tattooed was less than desirable. So,
like what was like so non-desirable about it?
he just, thought that it was, he was God's gift to Earth, and that he was, the champion tattoo artist of the century, and made it known how awesome it was for him to be tattooing me, and how I should be grateful for it, kind of thing. He's just an asshole, dude, and that really turned me off of him, to where I won't go back and get tattooed by him. So that's kind of unfortunate for him, because I'm sure he's like that with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he's missing money because of it. But I did get a really cool tattoo. I love the tattoo. I get a lot of compliments on it, and I like to look at it. It's cool. Like the fact that I had a bad experience doesn't make me hate the tattoo.
Right.
And that's what matters, is that I got a good tattoo, but it sucks when you have a bad experience getting there. So I try and do everything, dude. I try and like be a cool person and give people a cool tattoo, and be easy to talk to and work with.
Yeah, definitely.
And it definitely helps get return business.
Yeah, definitely. Do you still make trips to LA every once in a while, or have you not been there since 2015?
So I went back like a year and a month ago, almost on the dot. It was for Labor Day. I was back there, and actually I was back there for photography, which is interesting because I took a break from photos when I was in LA.
Right.
Because it's just too much. I was working like 70 hours a week and shit. So,
Right.
But I went back there for photography, man. There's this guy that I take pictures of, my homeboy Slobby Robbie.
Slobby Robbie. Shout out to Slobby Robbie.
Yeah, Slobby. Slobby's dope, dude. He owns a couple clothing stores out here.
Okay.
He started in Tucson. It's called Generation Cool. So he does like vintage fashion and like really cool like throwback stuff, and super cool dude. I love working with him. He's just such an interesting guy, and really photogenic in the awesomest way, you know. He's not like supermodel or anything like that, but like, man, does he take a good picture. But anyway, so I've been working with him for maybe 2 years now. Well, at the beginning of this year in January, he actually got a show on Netflix.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's like, dude, he's doing it right now. It's super cool to kind of like watch, but he's blowing up.
It's on Netflix right now?
Yeah, what? It's called Slobby's World.
Stop playing. I'm going to have to look this out, bro.
Yeah, it's super cool, man. You dig it. It's kind of like a better version of like Pawn Stars meets American Pickers, only it's like in the fashion world, and
okay.
It's really cool. So it was really awesome, actually. So I've been shooting him. I went out to LA to shoot him on his birthday. He was out there. I shot him recently in Arizona at this place called Arco Santi, which is like an architecture installation from like the 70s or something that's all supposed to be like sustainable. It's all like cement and copper and stuff. It's super cool.
Right.
And then he opened a store in Vegas earlier this year, right there in Vegas. So I went out to Vegas and shot his store opening, and it was really cool because through that, I got to shoot his opening party where Slick Rick performed. So I got to meet Slick Rick and shoot with him, which is like a bucket list kind of thing for me.
Yo, that's crazy. How was that though? Like, what
was dude, that like? Insane. It was so cool. And like, dude, Slick Rick was like the nicest fucking guy, and like so like just soft spoken and like super cool, down to earth, which is awesome. He's like most OG hip hop I could possibly even think of, other than like 2 Live Crew or something like that. But like,
that's it. So you grew up off a lot of hip hop then?
Yeah, man, I grew up off a lot of everything, honestly. If someone's talented and they make good shit, who am I to not enjoy it, you know? Like, right. It doesn't really matter the genre or whatever, but like if it's good and they're talented, I'm gonna listen to it. So a big part of that was a lot of hip hop. Like, I gotta say, one of my all-time favorites is probably like Tribe.
Oh man, bro. Okay.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
You get all kinds of points for that, man.
Yeah, dude. I'm huge into the old school hip hop. That's kind of like one of my main go-tos. Yeah. But it's cool, man. Vegas, I got to shoot with Dizzy Wright. I don't know if you know who that is, but it was cool to shoot with him and meet him.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of other people like I don't know, just different figures in the industry and stuff. So
that's crazy, man. So
super fun time,
bro. I'm here. I'm learning so much from you, right? And this whole time, and it's funny because the whole time I look at the picture, and I'm like, the only thing I really can hold you for is the story that you gave me.
Yeah, and it was a good story, but yeah, man, there's a lot. That was a hour long at most.
But from everything that I'm learning now, like in your life in general, what's something that, for one thing, if you were like sitting in front of a crowd or you're on stage, and you were to present who Travis truly is, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would you say? And then also, what are some misconceptions that you feel like you've had in your life that people have placed on you?
Man, I can't peg down anything specific. I would say to like show people who I am. I would just, watch, I guess, follow me, do, like, there's so much that I'm involved with that it's hard to just present myself as far as like just one aspect of life goes.
You feel like you're less of a speaker and more of a doer, perhaps? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely speak on stuff, but like it would take, man, they'd be in that crowd for a minute by the time I got done with talking about who I am.
Well, how would you start off then? Like, what would like let's say if you only had 10 minutes, right? And
Yeah.
like, how would you start off?
I'll just tell them what I'm about, dude. You know, everything happy, easygoing, you know, good energy and good art and good food.
Right, yeah. Oh, dang.
But,
and what about
yeah,
misconceptions, though? Because
I'm a walking misconception. You know, definitely the way I look. I don't know. I don't think I had my face tattooed when I met you the first time.
No, you didn't. And you had long hair, too.
Yeah, so I buzzed all my hair off. I have my whole head tattooed. I have a giant black X tattooed across my face. And like, you know, people see people with like head and face tattoos, especially in like a place like conservative Arizona, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people it doesn't sit well with, you know. And so it's it's interesting the things people say to me when I'm out in public. Sometimes very brave of them, I'd guess. Not that I'm like a dangerous or a mean person, but like if you think somebody's like a dangerous person, why are you gonna go like popping off at the mouth to them and stuff, you know?
Right.
But like example right now, dude, I was in this like really nice part of Scottsdale, which is like I guess the bougie area down here, if you will.
Yeah.
And I went with like my oldest friend, bro, my friend Wyatt. I've known Wyatt for like 22 years now or something. And you know, when you're a kid, everyone kind of is a kid, you know. You can get along with kids and you do kid things.
Right.
But as you age, you know, people get into these like niches and different interests and stuff, and Wyatt and I get along great. He's my best friend, but man, are we different types of people.
Really?
Wyatt is into like chemistry and math, and you know, wears his polo with his shiny shoes everywhere. I always joke around and tell people he's like my lawyer or my accountant or something when we go out.
Right.
But if that gives you I guess like a typecast on Wyatt. So we went out to this bar in Scottsdale. Super interesting spot. And we walk in, and we were going to see my friend DJ because he DJs out there.
Right.
And so we showed up a little bit earlier than like the bar crowd typically arrives. I think we went at like 9, and it usually pops off around like 10. Well, we're out there, and we walk in, and we just barely get up to the bar. Like we had been in there all of 60 seconds, and this old guy comes up to us drunk, like holding his wine, and he's like, "Are you two are like here together, right? Like, cause like I saw you walk in together. You guys are like friends and here together." I was like, yeah, man, what's up? He's like, "Oh, that's just like, dude, that's so interesting." Cause like, and he points to my friend. He's like, he's just so normal, and you're like, and I'm like, what? I'm not normal? He's like, no. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm not trying to offend you, man. Like, just like, you look like you've been to prison.
Oh wow!
I was like, "Whoa,
prison.
That's not much better." Yeah. So,
yeah. All right.
I was like, "Yo, man, I bet you have a cleaner record than you do, dude." Like, he's like, "You got a lot of tattoos." I was like, "Yeah, they're nice, aren't they?" He's like, "They're very colorful." I was like, "Yeah, you don't do that in prison."
Right. Exactly.
He's like, "Oh, well, I mean, like, I wasn't trying to, like, you know, I got a friend that's in prison. You know, he's like, you know, I don't know." So I'm like, "That's cool, dude. Like, have a good night." Like, I don't know. So I just. A lot of interactions like that.
That's interesting, man, because a lot of times, like, a lot of those kind of, you know, like condescending, passive, aggressive statements, a lot of times those are put with, like, racism in a sense. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But they come in all different forms.
Oh, yeah. No, so I had somebody try and tell me, like we were talking about cops, and I was like, I hate cops. And they're like, oh, because you've had such a bad experience with cops, right? With all your white privilege. I was like, dude, white privilege went out the window when I got tattooed. Like, cops walk up to me, like, after they pull me over for something stupid, like going 2 miles over the speeding limit because they saw what I look like.
Yeah.
And they walk up and their hands on their holster, and they're like acting like I'm some scary monster. And I'm like, dude, chill out. And like, honestly, there's a lot of racism in Arizona too. I had some old white lady at the bar one time say some racist things towards me because of my tattoos, and
That's crazy, bro.
It was really wild. That was like one of the weirdest, wildest interactions. I actually like made her leave the bar. It wasn't even like, I don't even know the people at the bar, but I told her she had to go. And she left.
That's so interesting, bro. Like just hearing that, like a white lady.
Bro, it was fucked up, dude. It was like I don't know. I'm not even gonna repeat the thing she said because like it was wild, dude. And I mean,
so then to you, do you feel like because I'm becoming to like really like my mind is beginning to really open up more about like racism and classism, whatever. But I'm beginning to believe that a lot of this has to do with aside from skin color, more importantly, just like presentation. And presentation meaning if a person
first
isn't
impression.
First impression, right? Like you have to speak a certain way. You have to before you even open your mouth, it's almost like you have to look a certain way. You have to have a suit on, tie, or have your nice fitted clothes on. It has to be something about you where people feel safe, right? And if they don't feel safe, then they automatically will label you a threat or kind of put some kind of like false label on you and everything. I feel like if you don't meet these requirements, then you're already labeled as a threat.
Oh yeah, people aren't even going to give you the time either. That it's not even like worth it to them,
Yeah. So this is why I'm personally based off my experience and me having this conversation with you and other people. I'm beginning to believe that this is like almost deeper than one skin color now. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure it is.
Yeah.
And, I feel like anything. I mean, nowadays it's crazy how quick people are to judge or point the finger and how sensitive they are to even the smallest things, dude. Whether it's what you're wearing or what you're not wearing, or and the ape in chief of our country. Idiot. Orange Cheeto buffoon. I can't say enough words about him. I fucking hate his ass so bad, dude. Not to get political, but like, yeah. So, but that's definitely enabled a lot of people who otherwise would have kept their mouths shut. Now they feel like they're able to say these things because the president of our country talks that way. So why can't they? I don't know. It's just crazy. So, and dude, honestly, it can be labeled as racism or classism or anything, but really it's just people are uncomfortable as fuck for no reason anymore, and some people it's because of racism, or some people it's because of classism, or their parents taught them to look at people a certain way, or a lot of people. And I try not to I guess attack them for it. Obviously racism is stupid, like get the fuck out with that shit. But like classism, when people look at me and they see this thing that scares them because they don't understand, like I try not to attack them for it, or try not to belittle, because usually what it comes down to is they don't understand, and that's just it's not a conscious judgment that they're making, or I always try and change people's viewpoints. When people say these things in public, I'll try and talk with them, because like I'm behind all the mess, I'm pretty well spoken and intelligent when I need to be. Like I did really well in high school and honors classes and all that stuff, so I I have the ability, I feel like, to break through to people and I try and change their opinion about it, and a lot of times it's pretty successful. And it's cool, because I see things that make me uncomfortable, and it's maybe because I don't understand them. But I try and realize that. But a lot of people, they're just ignorant, and it's only because they've known one way their whole life, and they've only done one thing their whole life, and they don't know about the other side of things, or how to understand. So
it's very important to really, like, people, to me, I feel like it's very important, especially in our country, for people to kind of like really consider other things other than just that simple, everyday, comfortable way of living. It's just a good way to expand your mind when meeting different people and everything. And I feel like I could always
say something snarky or something rude to these people that want to make these comments. You know, that's the easy way out. Right. And, you know, that to me is like a cop out. But if I can truly like sit there and engage them and pick their brain and get them to be like, oh, you know, maybe I was wrong about this guy, you know, then maybe next time they see someone who, you know, looks like me or presents themselves like me or something, they're not going to be so quick to like point a finger and be like, yo, you know, like,
yeah, it's interesting, man. I was at a corner store not too long ago, and I was wearing these new sweatpants I had got from H&M, and they have like zippers, like kind of like towards the knees, plus on the sides. And I'm at the gas station, I'm waiting to get like gas, and behind me is like this white guy. And he's like, hey, man, some nice sweatpants you got there, man. You know, a lot of zippers. And I was like, yeah. I like them for gym purposes because when I run, you know, I can keep my cell phone and nothing won't fly out. He's like, hey, man, well, you know, you need to stop running from the cops, too. I was like...
And see, he thought that was so clever and so funny, man. I swear to God, old white men are the bane of my existence, bro. I hate to be that guy because that's making me be racist now. But here's when everything kind of changed, because I felt like the guy was expecting some kind of like reaction from me, like what you say, you know, like. Yeah. I like kind of like laughed because here's the thing, like I'm beginning to see like through a lot of facades these days, like where people are holding up these facades and they say a lot of ignorant things because that's exactly what it is. They just being ignorant at the moment. And when they don't get the reaction that they kind of expect or looking for, like that facade, it slowly comes off. And then like, you know, they realize that, oh, damn, I can't hide. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. And then after that, we were able to have like a regular conversation after that. And this probably made him feel a little bit uncomfortable and foolish at the same time for even making a statement like that, you know? So, yeah, I say, so like, how are you normally handling like a situation like that when someone is, you know, maybe prejudging you? Yeah, kind of the same way you just said, man. I try and kind of disarm them, you know, and usually they'll, you know, sometimes people feel foolish, and that's just, you know, that's human nature. That's a natural reaction when you realize like you were wrong or I guess misguided in a situation, you know, is a little embarrassment. But like I said, man, you got to chip away at that facade that they're holding up and try and figure out why they're being like that and stuff. And like, you know, usually I kind of limit my interactions with strangers, like in passing like that, just to a quick, like, yeah, you know, this is what's up. This is not what's up. Have a good one. Yeah. But, you know, there's times like when I go out to a bar or like when I'm going to play pool, it happens a lot because there's like a lot of old people that go to the pool halls and like to shoot pool. And so, you know, those kind of conversations can last a little longer. And I just really try and give them something that they don't expect from someone like me, you know, like whether it's like a intelligent conversation about something specific or just like a general politeness, you know, because I try and be polite wherever I go, you know, and give people, you know, the respect that I think humans deserve until they give me a reason not to give it to them. But, you know, usually even at that point, I don't disrespect them or anything. I'll just, you know, disengage and exit the conversation that I was having and stuff. But yeah, man, I just try and always, you know, give people a side that I think they don't know how to see. Right. And I try and help them see that. And
it's important, man. Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bro, look, I got two more questions for you. I'm assuming you probably know the last one because you probably heard some of the podcasts, but I'm gonna ask the first one. The first one is, I mean, being that you've had this, like, you have a lot of experience with like meds, the anxiety, depression, everything like that. Like, how do you feel, or like what kind of advice would you give people who are experiencing anxiety, not even often, like just like periodically, right? And depression and all these other, as you know, we probably like to call them chemical imbalances. Periodic. Like, what kind of advice would you get? Would you even suggest that they get medication for any reason at all, or do you just feel like as you said, it's really something within?
It could be either or, man. You know, some medications aren't the worst thing in the world. While they're not like the best, they're certainly not the worst. Yeah. But I'm a believer that medications and stuff like that were not ever intended to be long term or anything like that. You know, a lot of people get on those things and stay on them for years, and that's when you start damaging the natural balance of your brain and stuff like that. You know, medications are sometimes very effective for short term, but nobody ever uses them as a short term fix, you know, because any kind of depression or anxiety, it takes work, man, and a lot of people don't want to put in that work.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to take it for what it is. They want to, you know, blame it on other things and blame it on, you know, this and that, but like it takes work. And so I always tell my friend, he's been working on that too, because he has some anxiety issues and stuff. I tell him, dude, it's just brain training. It's scientifically proven that if all you do is sit and think negative thoughts and think about how hard things are and think about this and think about that, you know, your brain literally will rewire itself. It creates new neural pathways to help those negative thoughts travel through your brain easier. Mm-hmm. But it's the same with positive thinking. If you know, get on that positive thought train and keep doing that, your brain will allow it to happen easier by creating these neural pathways to allow the positive thoughts to kind of flow a little bit better.
Right.
And that's what I mean by brain training. You know, but sometimes medications can help jumpstart that positive thinking, because, you know, when you get down, some people get really, really down, man. And the last thing in the world that they can possibly do is start to think happy just for no reason.
Right.
So I try and push that on people a lot. It's like brain training. You got to really, you know, be positive, stay positive.
Yeah.
But you know, medications aren't the worst. There's definitely some that, you know, should be obliterated off the face of the planet.
Right.
But there's some out there that are really gentle and, you know, can help. I would never stay on them long term. I have a friend who recently, you know, went to inpatient for, you know, depression issues, and he got out, you know, and they had him on this medication, and it kind of helped him through like that first hump of like, you know, figuring out, you know, what everything was, and he's off it now and able to kind of push like these positive thoughts a little bit better and look on the bright side of things.
Right.
So in that case it was helpful, you know, but he's already off the medications and it's been maybe a month and a half.
Wow.
So, you know, it helped that initial break into the positive side of things, but, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds almost like you're saying, like, in a sense, like, whenever these type of chemical imbalances occur, like we have to kind of learn how to weather that storm, like, because it's not necessarily, because, you know, I was telling my friend, it was like, it reminds me of like a person who keeps moving from place to place, not because they want to move, but because they're trying to avoid a thunderstorm or something like that, and then
you know,
like
exactly.
So like the meds would be like moving all the time, you know.
Yeah, and like I said, man, it's just all brain training. I feel like everyone, I mean, if not everyone, then you're damn lucky if you're not in the group. But like, dude, the early 20s, like, you know, 21, 22, 23, like that age, everybody, you know, everyone goes through a depressive state. Some people get really, and I feel like it's just that age, you know, you're kind of progressing from like a teenager to an adult, and your brain's still, I mean, you know, most people have already gone through like full on puberty and stuff, but your brain is still changing and still trying to adapt, you know, and those first couple of years out of high school give a lot of people anxiety because they're like, okay, this is real life now. You know, that's or true. They go into college and they're like, okay, I really have to focus because this is going to affect me and what job I get and stuff. And that combined with, you know, just becoming like an actual adult, not just a teenager anymore. I feel like everyone goes through that phase, you know, and it you just have to break through it. And some people carry it, you know, for the rest of their life because they allow it to damage them in a sense to the point of where they aren't able to, you know, they don't know anything else because they've dealt with this for so many years unsuccessfully. And so that's, you know, that's become their world.
Yeah. It also comes from like a lot of like expectations of like, you know, others as well. Like these, like maybe it'd be from my parents or just society in general, you know, like.
Definitely. Yeah. A lot of people feel like they have to live up to whatever image someone else has put on them, you know, and not the image that they want to be.
Right.
and that's a huge stress on a few people I know personally that are close to me. It's like, they have to live up to what their parents think, or they have to go to college for this certain degree, because if they go for some other degree, it's not going to be as happy for their parents. And it's like, well, which one do you want to do? Like, if you think you can be successful doing one that might otherwise be taboo in your family or in your life, like, you're still going to be successful,
right?
Yeah. Why does it, my thing is, like, if you can get away from your parents paying for you for everything, then why do they care? Like, obviously, right. I mean, like, obviously your mom or your dad or whoever, want to see you successful, and they want to see you happy, and they want to see you doing well. But that can be so many different things for so many different people. For me, like, I make really decent money. I can do the things I want to do, and I can afford to get the things I want to get.
Right.
Go the places I want to go. I'm not trying to be excessively wealthy. Right. I'm not trying to buy some, $500,000 house where, but that's my version of success, and I have that. So who is anybody else to tell me that, I should have tried harder, or I should have done more, or I should have not become a tattoo artist, or I should have, right. Because I achieved my goal. That's the goal I set for myself, and I'm there. That's what I wanted.
Do you feel like that message is being like the whole, like, keep striving, keep striving, keep striving, keep striving? Do you think that message is being put out, like, a little bit too aggressively, like, these days, where,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure. And I think, social media has a big
yeah,
like, thing to do with that. All these people, especially these young kids, man. Like, I got a homie who's got a couple kids that are anywhere from like 8 to 13, and they got these crazy, they say the craziest stuff, bro. They're like, oh, I want to be a professional gamer. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, it's cool to be a gamer. Like, if you can do that,
yeah,
fucking right on, dude. There's these dudes from like Sweden or something that just won a Fortnite contest and made like $32 million off it or something.
What? Oh yeah, there are people out there like that.
So
yeah.
Strokes of life are definitely changing, but that's like saying I want to become a movie star.
Right.
I don't know. To me, like, that's cool and you can do it. But you got to have, like, also another goal, I guess. I don't know. Like, but all these people have these expectations because they see other people doing it, and they see it on social media, and it's like, well, it might not necessarily be like that, even though that's what they're portraying. Like, life probably isn't actually like that. And for some people it is. That dude Dan Blazerian walks around with like 20 chicks on his arms at all times and does all this crazy stuff, but it's,
yeah,
I bet you he's unhappy more of the time than he's happy.
I can agree with that. It's a strong possibility.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just crazy the way perceptions are changing and stuff, and the things that change with them. And society definitely puts this whole different spin on things now, like, I feel like a lot of the people who are putting the more, like, like our parents who are telling us, go to college, do this, get a house, do this, like, it used to be a lot easier, man. Like,
yeah, way.
Times have changed. You got an entry level position that you worked for a year and a half before you were able to get a house, and you could afford it all on that. Like, if an entry level position for a year and a half now, you can't even save up money. You're in debt now, like,
yeah.
So it's just, a lot of people, shit, I don't even know where I'm going with this, dude.
No,
it's changed, and life's weird and crazy, and
like the as far as like the parents' expectations, like I was someone had told me, they was like, yo, Zoe, think about this, right? Like, you have kids, and you're a family man and everything. You have your own house. So you have your own house, you have next door neighbors. And what happens is, like, neighborhoods have the tendency of competing with each other. And they, most of the time, a lot of fathers and mothers, they want these bragging rights where they can be like, oh, look at my son, he's an honorable student.
Yeah.
And then it gets bigger and bigger. And then it gets to the point when, you graduate out of high school, and then all the parents are asking each other, so how's your son doing? Is your son still doing this? And they want to see, almost in a sense, if their son is doing better than that person's son,
Yeah.
And
See,
therefore,
that was my dad in a nutshell, dude. My dad always, and he was like supportive, you know, in some sort of aspect. But honestly, dude, like I haven't talked to my dad much since I was like 16, right?
Right.
Because he was just so overbearing, and there's a lot of other issues, like he was abusive, he was alcoholic, whatever.
Right.
But in the competition sense, he always wanted to throw me out like I was some trophy, and like oh well. And it's so funny because I always deviated from the things he wanted me to do. You know, he wanted me to do sports, so I started skateboarding. I don't think that's what he.
That's
had
how it
in
was
mind.
with me basketball, bro. Like,
yeah. So it was crazy, and then it just got to the point where it was just too much, man. And you know, he's not in my life anymore, partially for that reason. You know, I'm not his competition. I'm not his, you know, metric of success like he wants me to be. So it's interesting, and you know, my mom on the other hand was always super supportive of me and stuff, and it's cool because she's still supportive of me, despite me being a tattoo artist, which at first she really was apprehensive about. And I think it comes back to that ignorance thing. She just didn't know what you can make of yourself as a tattoo artist. The only idea of what a tattoo artist was that she had was, you know, someone scraping by and kind of just, you know.
Yeah.
So, but now it's cool, and now, you know, she shares all the blessings I've gotten because of it and stuff with me, and she shares my happiness and my success because she was able to kind of, you know, accept that I wasn't going to be the football playing scientist, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So
that's beautiful though, man, that, you know, to still create that bond, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's cool because she had a lot of walls built up about that and stuff, and I was able to break them all down, and now it's so cool how supportive and amazing my mom is.
Right.
So.
It's tight, man. Cool, man. Well, so Trav, you got one more year left, man. What how's your life gonna look after hearing that news?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year. How's my life gonna look in 1 year?
Yeah, I mean, if you had one year left.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I got you.
Yeah.
I still haven't had my coffee yet. Sorry. Man, honestly, I'll take about 6 months. Nothing's going to hold me back, dude. I'm going all over the world. I'm spending all the money. I'm doing everything I can just to have a good time. Maybe a little too much partying, honestly, because fuck it, why not? I'm gonna be gone in a year, right?
Right.
So I'm gonna really, really enjoy it, and it's gonna be a good year. But those last couple of months, man, I want to say righting wrongs, but I don't really have any wrongs to right anymore. Like anybody who in my past may have had a bad taste in my mouth, like I've made sure to take care of that. That was part of me getting off the medications and doing all that. Is like I felt like I had to reach out to people and. You know, but
do you feel like that probably played a role on a lot of the anxiety and stuff like that, or is that?
Yeah, man, I feel like a lot of people hold these situations. For example, all right, so this is a really stupid quick story, and really fucking dumb, but it's pretty funny. In high school, there was this chick I went to high school with, and super pretty, super cool. We hung out a lot all the time. And she had her birthday party, and I had forgotten about it during the day, and I ate a bunch of mushrooms.
Whoa!
So my friend Wyatt, go back to Wyatt, was like, "Hey, are we still going to that thing tonight?" I was like, "Oh fuck!" I was like, "Dude, you got to come pick me up." Well, we arrive at this party, and I was pretty deep on these mushrooms. I had taken more than I usually had been taking and stuff. So I go up to my friend, and she walks out. And she's like, "Hey," gives me a hug. She's like, "Thanks so much for coming." And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks for having us." She goes, "Well," and I'm like, "Well, what?" And she like kind of sticks her neck out and points to her face. And I was like, "What? And she like does it again. So I like gave her a kiss on the cheek. Like, I don't know what the fuck you want from me. Like, you know? And she was like, "No, oh my gosh." And she like points again and tilts her head down. because she was taller than me.
Right,
so
right.
Another weird, awkward. And she had this tiara on that said "Happy Birthday," and I was like, "Oh yeah, happy birthday!" And it was like super embarrassing for me for like years. I mean, obviously,
man.
I mean, I was like 17. I'm like almost 29 now, and I'm still talking about it. So like, but like that kind of situation, you know, even the littlest things. I haven't talked to this girl since high school.
Right.
But those little tiny things can stick with you. And that was a big push for me to try and reach out to people who I thought might have a problem with me or might not view me so favorably, because that was something that could, I mean, it might not be weighing on me, and maybe I reach out and they tell me to fuck off, but, you know, at least I tried. And that was something that I thought, you know, might get a bunch of stuff out of my head that I might not even know about.
Ah, man, that sounds liberating, bro.
Yeah, dude. And there wasn't very many people to kind of reach out to. You know, I've always been as cool as I can with people, and usually if people, you know, if something happens or if people have an issue, that's kind of on them, because I've always been one to be respectful, and if it's a situation where I possibly cannot do that, it's not something that I'm disrespectful about. I just leave, you know?
Yeah, I see you saying.
So, but I did reach out to a few people when I was going through all that, chat with them, and kind of tried to calm the waters a bit. And, you know, that was super successful for me. And I feel like it was the right thing to do. Whether or not it helped me, I mean, I think it did, but I can't pin it exactly on that, because, you know, there was all sorts of other stuff changing in my life at that time.
Right.
But yeah, man. So, you know, a year left, those last couple of months, dude. Anything left that I might have to say to any people or whatever, and then just, you know, making sure my loved ones and the people I care about are set to carry on when I'm not around, man.
Tight, man. Well, yeah. This is definitely hypothetical, because, you know, I definitely want to be able to see your art for years to come.
Yeah. I'm too stubborn to go anywhere right now, man. Don't worry.
That's what it is, man. Well, hey, man, tell the people where they can reach you at, man. I think you got 2 Instagrams.
All right, so we'll just use our Instagrams, because, like I said, fuck Twitter and Facebook. But Jucebox, Jucebox is where you can find my tattoos. Photo-wise, Sadtrav, SADTRAV. So, yeah, those are my handles on Instagram. Holler at me if you're ever in Arizona. Hit me up.
Definitely, because your work is crazy, bro. Photography.
Thank you, dude. I really appreciate that. I try and push everything I can, dude.
Now I'm about to turn into a bigger fan of your work, your photography work. Now that I'm just now learning more about you as a photographer now. So.
Thanks,
surprisingly, man. Yeah. Well, for sure, man. Yo, man, it feels good to be able to catch up with you again.
Yeah,
man.
dude. Honestly, I'm planning on a few trips here soon, and Houston's definitely going to be one of them. So when I'm in the neighborhood, dude, I will definitely holler at you.
Please, yeah.
A reunion is necessary.
Yes, man. We got to do it, man. It's necessary.
Hell yeah.
And if I'm on your side of town, you know I'm gonna hit you up, bro.
Oh, of course.
So it's definitely in the works, man.
Well, yo, man, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Likewise, man. And we shall do this again. Oh, yeah. We shall do this again, man.
Hell yeah. All right, bro.
Take it easy.
Later.
Peace.